This is the 2016 Raleigh Route IE. It's an electric hardtail that's probably best suited to the city or trails like this that are paved. You do a little bit of hard-packed off-road riding, but the tires they're hybrids. Even the wheel diameter, this is 700 by 45C, so they're a little bit wider, about 1 5/8 inches, and that's going to give you a little bit of cushion. Not quite as efficient as like a road or true city bike tire, but when you're riding at higher speeds, which this is capable of, 28 mile/hour top speed, it's nice to have a little bit of cushion. Same goes for the suspension fork. This isn't a super high quality fork, a little bit heavier. You've only got lockout adjust, but it's definitely going to dampen some of those, cracks and bumps, and that's really, really nice. So I'm loving it. It's got 3 sizes that it comes in. They only come in this sort of high step, but you'll notice that the top tube is pretty sloped. This is a size medium frame, so it's 15, 17, or 19. It runs a little small, so this is a 17. I'm about 5'9", and it feels a little bit compact. I'm a little bit more upright because of that. You'll notice there's not huge reach, although the bars are almost flat, and even the grips, they're just like flat circular rubber grips. So a little bit more aggressive. Gets you a little bit of forward lean and active pedaling. Same with the saddle, a bit more firm, but it rides really well. And again, it's a speed pedelec, so you can go faster, which means maybe more fun if you enjoy that kind of thing, and also just commutes won't take as long. This is a class 3 electric bike because of that high speed, but you can also upgrade it for $50. I think they have a little, they call it like the boost button. It's a little plastic ring with a couple of buttons on it. One that'll take you up to about 6 miles/hour, and the other one that'll take you all the way up to 20 miles/hour, just like a class 2 electric bike. So that's a kind of a neat accessory that extends how you would use this bike. The motor down here is a Trans X. I think it's like M07 is the model. I've seen these in 2015. They're not the most responsive motors, but they are higher torque. So it's like 73 Newton meters. The power rating on this is, I think 350 to 400 watt output. So it's like high torque. That's what you're getting. You are getting some efficiency also because there's a 10-speed drivetrain on this. 10 sprockets in the rear, 11 to 32 teeth, and then 42 teeth on that chain ring in the front with a nice metal chain guide. So that's going to keep the chain on track a little bit better. Shimano Deore derailleur and trigger shifters up here. It's nice to have something that's a little bit higher quality, higher precision, because you are putting more stress and strain on the drivetrain. And because the motor's a little bit slower, I find myself sort of easing off definitely more when I shift, because there is no shift detection, and otherwise that could produce some strain on the chain, on the sprockets and the derailleur. So keep that in mind. If you're new to electric bikes, just think to yourself like, oh, even if I'm not pushing super hard, that motor might still be winding down, and give it a second to do so. Okay, so coming back to the frame, love that there are threaded eyelets and braze-ons for a rear rack, for fenders. There's even a hole for a fender up there on the suspension fork with some mounting points on the back sides. Love that. 15mm thru-axle on that front hub. You can see the quick release right there. 180mm hydraulic disc brake on the front, 160 on the rear. You get most of your stopping power from the front, so that's why they upgraded and gave it a bigger disc. It's nice to have hydraulic disc brakes and that bigger rotor when you're going at higher speeds. 12mm axle at the rear, so just kind of a little bit tougher, a little bit stiffer. That's important when you're going at those higher speeds. It's just going to help to align those discs with the calipers and pads if you do have to take those off. Like that the battery's removable just like the wheels. The weight of this bike is about 52 pounds. So if you were comparing this to the Raleigh Maceo IE or Maceo Sport IE, you wouldn't be getting suspension. Those have a carbon fiber fork, narrower tires, and it's about 10 pounds less. So that extra 10 pounds, the battery and the motor are similar, but the higher torque motor is going to weigh more. The suspension fork, the burlier frame, the thru-axles, the bigger tires, that's where you're getting that weight from. And really it's just about going faster and having a little bit more comfort. You could hang this off the back of a car a little bit easier because of that high step, and as I was saying before, it only comes in high step, Okay, so one thing I call out a lot is suspension seat posts. This is 31.6 millimeters in diameter. You could replace it if you want to, but the suspension and the larger tires up front are already helping you quite a bit. One thing I call out a lot is, hey, no bottle cage bosses, but in this case, I guess I understand. You know, the battery is really low right there. There's not a whole lot of room, and this is only a 300 millimeter length seat post, and so I feel like by bringing the top tube down a little bit, you know, they just don't have as much tubing to work with, and therefore maybe they couldn't put on braze-ons here because the post would collide or something like that. I don't know. I don't know for sure. You could wear a little backpack or put a rack on this for commuting. So it is solvable, but that's something I call out because I like to have little pumps and, you know, folding locks and stuff, and that's something that is not present here. We got 4 stacks. This bike performs pretty well, and the motor is relatively quiet once you get going, though it does, again, there's that kind of that delay that happens. The battery pack uses lithium-ion cells. It's a 48-volt pack, so that's giving you plenty of power to drive that motor and to get that higher torque output. So 48 volts, 8.7 amp hours. Love that it's mounted right there in the center of the frame, kept low just to keep the balance. And again, offering quick release on both of those wheels. That's something that's a little bit more difficult to do if you have a hub motor. So pretty good stuff. Let's talk about how this thing works. So if you've charged the battery pack and you're ready to go, whether it's on the bike or off, this is what it's going to look like. A little port there on the side. It uses a circular plug that I really like. Here's the charger. It's about 1.7 pounds. Wouldn't be too unreasonable to take along. 2 amps. This is the charging port I was talking about. It's metal, so if you stepped on it or dropped it, it should hold up pretty well, and you can see that that would fit in a little pack fairly easily. That's nice. You can top your battery off, you know, halfway through your journey. So anyway, the battery is on the bike right now. It's charged up. It's got the key in it. This is a demo bike, so that's why there's zip ties and stuff so that the keys don't get lost, but you can take them off, so they're not going to be rattling, they're not going to be in your way while you're pedaling, as they are now during this review. Anyway, the first step is you have to turn the battery pack on, so you press that power button. A little bit of a bummer because it's a 2-step process, although it's fairly easy to reach while you're sitting. So turn the battery on. Now we come up to this display panel, press the power button over here for a couple seconds, and it goes through a little 8-second countdown. And finally, we are ready to go. The display is fairly large, as you can see, easy to read, as long as it's not glaring too much, and you can adjust it forward to back to reduce that glare, which is really nice. We've got our speed by default and miles per hour, 5 little battery ticks, and your pedal assist level. Now there's this box button over here, and if you hold that for several seconds, it'll change from miles per hour to kilometers per hour. So that's cool if you're into a metric system. Also, there's the up and down arrows. So right now we're in pedal assist level 2, but if I arrow up, I can get all the way to 4. And then back down to 1. And it sort of seems like that's it. Like, oh, can't I ride this just as a bicycle and use this as a cycle computer? Like, how do I get to 0? You can do it. You have to hold the power button for a couple seconds. So I'll do that. Let go, 0. So that's how you get to like the secret 0 mode. It's actually kind of confusing sometimes because I'll be like wanting to turn the bike off and I'll hold power and it's like, why didn't it go off? And it took me a while to realize like, oh, that's getting me to 0 level. So then if you hold power again for a little bit longer, it'll turn off, or you can just come straight down here and press the power button. So it's just a little bit disjointed in my opinion, but it works well enough. So let's get back to it. If we just press those boxes just quickly, it goes from speed to, oh, come on. Oh, maybe it's just this button pad's a little sticky because it's been being pushed a lot. So I'm in odometer right now. That's how far the bike's been in the lifetime. 69 miles. Pressing it again. Distance, there we go. 0.26 miles for this ride. And then range. Range is really cool. So it dynamically looks at what level of assist you're in and how full the battery is, and it approximates how far it thinks we can go. So it's saying about 30 miles. In the lowest level of assist. That's not as much as a lot of the other electric bikes with mid-drives. I'm constantly saying like how efficient they are because you can change gears and you can let the motor just operate at its optimal RPM. If you're climbing, it doesn't have to be straining the same way that a hub motor is. If you're at a higher speed, same thing. Just switch the gears and enable and empower the motor just like you as a rider are empowered by those gears. But this is a lower range estimate, 29 miles. And I think, again, it's just that higher power, high torque motor. So I don't know. Let's arrow up. So we arrow up to level 4. This is where we're getting the most power from the system, and it says, oh, only 15 miles. You know, it's like, okay, that's all right. Most people's commute, it's probably not super duper far, and that works. You've got the charger you can bring with you. It's just not quite as efficient as like maybe the Shimano system is really what I'm thinking of, and the Bosch system. Those tend to go further. I also wanted to call out this little light sensor here. So if it's dark, this will automatically detect it, and backlighting comes on with the display. You can also activate backlighting manually by holding the plus button for a couple of seconds, but you can't see it because we're outside, and it's super bright. So I do like the button pad. It blends in pretty nicely. It's easy to reach. It'd be nice if you could remove the display instead of just swiveling it, because if you are commuting with this, that's going to be out at the rack getting the sunshine on it, the rain, potentially scraped by other bikes or vandalism. So yeah, just something to think about. Love that the frame has internally routed cables, and they even tacked on some little mounting points just to keep the wires straight and out of your way. It's a good looking bike, and at $25.99, it's very close to the Maseo IE Sport, but it's still quite a bit cheaper than the Sprint, which is their other speed pedelec. And that one has an internally mounted battery, so it's really clean. It brings the weight even lower down, but it's a custom frame. So for me, being able to quickly and easily remove that battery pack, and even if it doesn't look quite as beautiful, this is still a pretty good value. Okay, I'm in the highest level of pedal assist. I'm going to try to demonstrate just how responsive it is and what it's going to sound like. I'm starting off in kind of a mid-level gear, and I might change gears too, so you can listen for the kind of the mashing that can happen if you're not careful. So let's do it. There's a real delay with this system, starting and stopping, and you kind of hear it starts, but it doesn't really give you that power until just like a second and a half in, and I guess that's all right. For something like this, where you're on a path, you know, it doesn't matter quite as much that it isn't as responsive as if this were like a mountain bike or something where you really need it to be immediate. And you do get a lot of power. Like in this higher level, I mean, I can feel it jerk forward when I start pedaling. And we really start to get up to those higher speeds. Woo! I also think that this is mostly like a cadence sensor. I'm not having to push super hard for it to activate or to give me that power. But in order to hit those higher top speeds, like the speed pedelec stuff, you're probably gonna have to start pushing a little bit more. Okay, let's do our speed test. Here we go. Oh, so we're up at 20, making some turns. You are gonna be in that higher gear in order to give the motor enough power to hit those higher speeds. Oh, yeah, you can see it. I'm riding with one hand. I don't want to wipe out, but we were clearly up close to that 25 mile per hour mark, and it feels good. I'm not getting nearly as much just abrasion from like hitting these little roots and stuff on the way, so that's pretty cool. Got up past 30 there, and the motor was still helping. It's fast and it's powerful. I had no problem climbing. I was also impressed with just how quiet it was. It's a little bit of a softer versus some of the more mechanical gear sounds on the other mid-drives. Yeah, I'm a fan. So that's the Raleigh Route IE high-speed electric bike 2016. For the full write-up on this and some of the other Raleigh electric bikes, I'll see you back at the site, ElectricBikeReview.com. And of course, going at high speeds, ride safe.